All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Europe is burning before summer has even begun. From the Atlantic coast of Portugal to the plains of Eastern Europe, an immense dome of high pressure has settled across the continent. Meteorologists call it a heat dome, a vast atmospheric lid that traps hot air near the surface, compressing it and driving temperatures higher with each passing day. But this heat is not appearing from nowhere. Warm air surging northward from North Africa is feeding the system, carrying Saharan heat deep into Europe. At the same time, El Niño and a warming planet are loading the atmosphere with even more energy. Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Germany, the United Kingdom, and parts of the Balkans are already feeling the impact. Rivers shrink, forests dry, wildfire risks climb. Cities built for cooler climates struggle beneath temperatures that arrive weeks earlier than expected. Scientists warn this is not an anomaly. It is a glimpse into the future. As greenhouse gases continue to warm the planet, heat waves are becoming more frequent, more intense, and more dangerous. This may be one of the hottest years ever recorded. It could also be among the coolest years many of us will ever experience.
Bro, white people are so cooked right now, and I mean this literally. This is what's happening over in Europe right now. Extreme heat wave that has taken thousands of people's lives, and they literally have no idea how to deal. Look, bananas are literally falling off of the peels. It's so hot. Tires are melting, cars are melting. You can fry eggs from the sun over there, and thousands of people are now dead. The air conditioning isn't working. Their systems are antiquated. Look at this. That's crazy. Meanwhile, over in China, they're playing the classic game of slip and slide, only they're doing it over buildings and streets and highways. I mean, they literally have a truck to cool down cars as they're driving. They even have street poles going across, cooling down the cars as they're driving. Why can't white people think of stuff like this? Only Asians would come up with such a simple solution to prevent cars from literally melting. White people, we are so doomed. It's crazy. I mean, I was literally scrolling through Kua.com. You know that place, the #1 place for you to get all of your world news at your fingertips and have an AI butler read it to you? Yeah. 2,000 people, 1,000 people in France, 1,000 people in Spain, dead on arrival because of this heat wave, because literally Europe has no idea how to deal with the sun. Maybe that's why everybody's white over there. My name is Mike Dean. You're watching the Daily Rumble. Follow along for more and go to Kua.com to get all of your news at your fingertips.
Europe is suffocating under an unprecedented heat wave. One of the strangest weather patterns on Earth is fueling this extreme event, making it one of the most intense heat waves the continent has ever experienced. According to media reports, temperatures have climbed above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, across parts of France, Spain, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Red alerts have been issued, schools have closed, and dozens of heat-related deaths have been reported. In some cities, traffic lights have warped, while roads and subway station floors have started to soften under the extreme heat. Videos have also gone viral on social media, showing people claiming they can cook food using nothing but the intense heat from the sun. According to media reports, more than 1,300 excess deaths have been recorded across Europe since June 21st. In France alone, health authorities have reported around 1,000 excess deaths during just a few days of the heat wave's peak, most of them involving older adults. Officials say that number could rise as more data becomes available. Officials are urging everyone to stay safe and avoid direct sunlight. May God ease this heat wave for everyone.
We have some really sad news out of Europe where the death toll has risen to 2,129 plus deaths, according to Weather Fatalities and the data that they've compiled out of the various sources available. Now, this is 1,058 plus in France, 1,029 in Spain, 25 in the United Kingdom, 7 in the Netherlands, 7 in Poland, and 3 in Romania, which is a truly, truly tragic situation. As you know, there is a big aversion to air conditioning in Europe, despite the fact that many people die during these heat waves, and it is just a true tragedy that some of the most vulnerable people are the ones who are in these numbers, you know, especially people who are elderly, disabled, etc. And I find it really, really terrible that they are not embracing AC.
It is hot here on the streets of The Hague. It's almost suffocating. Much of the Netherlands lies below sea level, so people are taking advantage of the easy access to water, jumping into canals, heading for the coast. But that relief comes with some risks. Yesterday, 3 people died from drowning, including a 13-year-old boy. The country has been put on high alert for heat for the first time in its history. Temperatures of up to 40 degrees forecast. Parades and festivals have been cancelled, schools have closed, and restrictions have been placed on the sale of alcohol. And it's a similar picture across the continent. So in France, restrictions on the sale and consumption of alcohol to try to relieve pressure on hospitals. In Germany, Hamburg's half marathon has been cancelled this weekend. People are being offered refunds if they want to cancel their train tickets. So what is causing these extreme temperatures? Scientists at the World Weather Attribution Center have said that the heat wave in Europe right now is unmistakably a result of climate change. And they say these kinds of temperatures would have been virtually impossible 50 years ago.
The hottest day in the history of the Republic. We have our own heat wave coming here next week for the 4th of July, but this past week has been an epic heat wave across most of Western and Northwestern Europe. A big heat dome has been pulling hot air off of the deserts of North Africa and pumping it up across Spain, Portugal, and France. All-time record high temperatures across the country of France. Meteo France, which is their version of the National Weather Service, called Wednesday the hottest day in the history of the Republic. Crazy. The record highs set on Wednesday broke the records that were set just the day before, and temperatures have been over 100 degrees. An average high temperature in Paris this time of the year is 75 degrees. They are not used to being 100 or 105. Air conditioning is only in about 20% of the buildings, so there's no way to cool off. Globally, heat is the #1 weather-related killer every year. Already reports of more than 500 fatalities, heat-related fatalities to this point, and with the heat wave continuing and expanding into parts of Germany and the Low Countries of Belgium and the Netherlands, this unfortunately is going to lead to an even higher death toll over the coming days. But this heat dome will finally break down, but it might be another 3 or 4 days away. And just keep in mind, we're going to have probably record high temperatures here for the 4th of July.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8, and it reads, "The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahak HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barazar from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. And that heat wave in Europe, you know, is Lord is bringing this judgment out, you know, for the wickedness in the world. All right, He is not a plan with this nation anymore. All right, and it's about time. You know, this is for the controversy of Zion, and if you notice, that heat wave is taking place in a multitude, in the majority of those NATO and EU countries that have put hell on Jake around the globe. All right, those 10 horns and 7 heads. All right, that the Bible speaks of in Revelation. All right, so those people are really catching it over there. You know, you got street lights melting, the asphalt, you know, literally just melting on the street. You know, people dropping dead right on the spot, fainting. You know, you have a couple thousand dead already in Europe. You know, and then people trying to cool off, diving in the water and drowning. So it's a lot happening out there. So I got this article I'm going to read. It's from Ball Alert via Newsbreak. It says Europe's heat wave turns fatal. Over 200 dead in Spain, 55 drowned in France trying to cool off. All right, and this is written on June 27th of this year, 2026. All right. It says Europe is facing one of its most dangerous heat waves in years, with record-breaking temperatures, overwhelmed hospitals, alcohol restrictions in Paris, and rising death toll across the continent. All right. It says Spain's heat monitoring system estimates that 212 people have died since Sunday, June 21st, as temperatures climbed above 110 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of the country. Most of the victims are believed to be 65 or older, a group especially vulnerable to extreme heat because the body becomes less efficient at cooling itself with age. It says France has also been hit hard. At least 55 people have drowned while trying to cool off in lakes and ponds and rivers, while officials say several children died after being left inside hot cars. Paris, where temperatures reached a June record of 40.9 Celsius or 105 degrees Fahrenheit, officials moved to restrict the sale of takeaway alcohol and public drinking to reduce pressure on emergency workers. Paris Police Chief Patrice Faure said hospitals were reaching saturation point, according to The Guardian, and you can click on that to get the rest of that story. Okay. It says the crisis is not limited to France and Spain. The heat wave has disrupted schools, rail systems, cultural landmarks, and major events across Europe. The system is now moving east, with Germany and Poland bracing for temperatures near 104 degrees Fahrenheit, while infrastructure concerns grow over buckling roads, strained train tracks, and overloaded power systems. Wow. Yeah. That judgment is going out. It says scientists say that this is not just a bad summer, it's a climate warming. World Weather Attribution found that the June 2026 heat wave would have been virtually impossible without human-caused climate change. Human-caused climate change. I wonder what's that going to get into. All right, who are they blaming? The civilians, or are they blaming these corporations? Okay. The group said similar weather. Let me get the full page here. The group said similar weather pattern in 1976 would have produced temperatures about 3.5 degrees Celsius cooler, but today's warmer baseline has turned familiar patterns into life-threatening extremes. Wow. It says Europe has seen this kind of tragedy before. A 2003 heat wave caused more than 70,000 additional deaths across Europe, according to research indexed by PubMed. In 2022, A Nature Medicine study estimated that 61,000 heat-related deaths across Europe, with Italy, Spain, Germany, France, and UK among the hardest hit countries. Yep, all those nations that had a whole lot to do with the suffering of Jake across the globe. The EU, all right, NATO, all right, 10 horns and 7 heads, all right. It says the Copernicus Climate Change Service says extreme heat has become Europe's deadliest climate-related threat, with heat-related mortality rising about 30% in the WHO European region over the past 2 decades. As officials race to protect residents, the latest heat wave is another brutal reminder that Europe's summers are becoming hotter, longer, and far more deadly. All right, and that's the end of the article. But yeah, that judgment of the Lord is going out because of the wickedness of this place. This is Psalms chapter 119 and 126. One of my favorite scriptures. And it reads, "It is time for thee, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, to work, for they have made void thy law." And essentially, the hopeful elect men of the true nation of Israel are tired of, we ready to get out of here. Everything is in the time of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, but it's vexing to have to wake up and deal with this devil every day. And it's nice to see some of them starting to get back, the beginning of the payback, for what they did to us throughout the history of this country. All right. Yep. It's time for the Lord to work, not only against our enemies, against the 2/3 of our people who support them. All right. Because they're just as bad when it comes to, when it comes to the prophets. All right. To our people. This is I think it's Proverb. I think it's in Proverbs. It says justify, condemn. I know those are the 2 words when it comes to our people and the enemy. Proverbs 17:15. It says, "He that justifieth the wicked," that's the 2/3 of our people, all right, coming against us, "and he that condemneth the just," that's Esau, Edom, primarily the so-called white man who is the wicked, all right, "even they both are abomination to the Lord," all right. And how does the Lord feel about abominations? They deserve death, all right. Abomination is a filthy, wicked act. That's what he says when it comes to an abomination. All abominations are handled the same, through death. All right. But yeah, that heat wave, and it's like it's being forced in that direction. When you look at some of those diagrams of that heat wave, and it's forming a dome over them, so it's kind of hard to escape. Like, man, yeah, nothing but Yahweh Bashem Yahushai bringing that judgment. All right. And he will not at all acquit the guilty. Even all this stuff happened centuries ago, the Lord has been saving up, this stuff for this day. The day of judgment is near. All right. This is Sirach, not Sirach, 2nd Ezra. I'm going to go to 15. And start at verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord." And who is he talking to? The prophets. Okay? He will put in our mouth. Because remember, he has spoken by the mouth of the prophets since the beginning, since the world began. All right? And he says, cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. All right. And it's telling us, fear not the imaginations against thee, let the incredulity, which is unbelief, of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Again, that's going back to that Proverbs 27:15. Our own people, you know, that condemn us, as well as the wicked who condemn us. All right. Verse 4, it says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. You're starting to see that now. All right. The big one is going to be when those nukes start coming. You know, we already starting to see spirits of vengeance. You know, just last week, I think it was 3 or 4 stories with these alligators and crocodiles in Florida doing their thing, bringing judgment on folks. All right. So the Lord is going to work. Going to work. And we just got to stay strong. All right. Because, you know, stay strong and keep praying. And, you know, just know that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua has got us as these times get worse and worse and worse. All right. Verse 5. It says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And you're seeing all that right now with those earthquakes in Venezuela, 2 back-to-back 7-point Richter scale earthquakes in the same place. All right, you're seeing the death from this heat wave, and the death toll from those earthquakes. You know, I think they still counting over there. All right, they still counting with this heat wave. All right, and it's starting to happen. All right, and why is he bringing that? Verse 6, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. All right, that's because, you know, hey, and all of those European countries on those Epstein files, you know, all these people are running the world right now. But that was a prophecy of Job 9:24. You know, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. You know, and they are controlling the earth right now. And hey, you know, I'm telling you, it's vexing to have to deal with this every day. But, you know, it's all the Lord's plan. We got to deal with it. All right. So, yeah. So, like I said here, for wickedness, verse 6, 2 Ezra 15, verse 6, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. All right. Meaning that, hey, the Lord has had enough. He's about to start judging. You know, he's already doing it now, but it's about to ramp up. All right. He has had enough. That's why that scripture said, it's time for thee to work, because they have made forth thy law. And how they do that? With all this wickedness. All right. Verse 7. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Okay. He ain't gonna have any more patience with all this wickedness. He says, behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth out to me, and the souls of the just complain continually. That's the prophets, okay? The ones who are still here with us doing the work, and the ones who've gone on, okay? It says, verse 9, and therefore saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. All right? So, yeah, he's about to, you know, his judgment is like I said, it's going to be like a time like never be time before, according to Daniel 12:1. And 2, you know, Jacob's trouble. And, you know, Jacob's trouble, yeah, it's really about Israel, but all nations are going to feel it. All nations are going to feel that wrath of the Lord, you know. Especially, you know, now that these curses are starting to lift off of us and go on to them. All right. Like a couple of those videos, they never dealt with this before. All right. Not at this magnitude. Well, that's telling you it's the Lord doing it. All right. Because they didn't see it coming. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. All right. It says, and Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And it's time. You know, you see it's getting worse and worse and worse. What they trying to do to Jake, you know, erase him out of history. You know, draconian measures and draconian punishments. Okay? So yeah, it's time. And you know, these pestilences or plagues, whichever you want to call them, that's causing death and destruction, hey, this is just the beginning. All right? So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharallah, Abba Baba. We got next. Shalom.